Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all. It's Bear here, and I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel, aboxwithnolid, a channel dedicated to learning about and bringing and raising awareness of complex trauma, but also in developing and creating ways to heal and to bring a better quality of life to all of us who've experienced complex trauma and live with it in our day-to-day lives. Now, in today's video, I want to, keeping with the theme of what runs in the background, and the reason I'm raising all of these mechanisms, these processes, is when you gain a felt sense understanding that what you were feeling is not random. It is a response. When all the sensations, the effects, the medical conditions, everything that our trauma creates is following layers of sets of instructions within different mechanisms within our body. Within our physiology, within our nervous system, within the neurology and the structures of our brain. All of these processes are basically just sets of instructions that have learned to respond or been taught to respond in a certain way. And there's layers of them. And I know myself, you feel that fraction less helpless, knowing that this is a mechanism. And if you can just find the right combination of things to put into that mechanism, to support that mechanism in a positive way, it will change. And that's one of the ways that we heal. And what I'm able to give through this channel is the more understanding that you guys have, the layers of understanding that you guys have, the realizations and the implementation of what you learn and what you find out for yourselves is what's going to help you heal. There is no one on the planet that can fix this. But there are plenty of people on the planet that can help give you all these little pieces that can help you heal yourself and to create that belonging that will help you release and resolve trauma. So as I said, with keeping in that theme, now there's a very smart guy by the name of Professor Stephen Porges. And he, with others, developed a theory called Polyvagal theory. And the research around this, it is complicated, but it is well worth looking into because it helps, they're working to help understand these layers of mechanisms. How our neurology has a layered set of instructions and how trauma influences those instructions. Now, what I want to bring into this mix today, or this video today, is a component of polyvagal, or a component of our neurophysiological response, which revolves around, I guess, we all understand what imprinting means. When a duckling is born or hatches, they imprint. Many animals do. Most mammals have an imprinting mechanism. We're a mammal. We have an imprinting mechanism, which simply means we are born with a predetermined template of what our parents are supposed to look like. The facial structures, the shape of the eyes, positioning of noses, and all of this. The tone of a voice, particularly our mothers. Because as an infant, throughout gestation and throughout pregnancy, is hearing the mother's voice. The infant is hearing the voices around. And there's an imprinting recognition of, this is my mother's vocal tone. This is my father's vocal tone. There's all these parameters that we are genetically inheriting and reinforced throughout pregnancy, throughout the development of our being and body. That we are part of this family. And the reason I raise this is it is one of the most key components of safety and belonging in our neurology. That familiarity. And to highlight the evidence of this, if you're an adoptee or you're around adoptee circles, especially on the forums online, when adoptees talk about reunions, the first time they meet biological family, I have not, and I've been around, this stuff for a long time, and I have not come across a reunion where the recognition of they look like me, their mannerisms are the same, they speak and sound like me, is not raised. And the profound effect that it has on an adoptee, in a positive and massively in a negative. It's one of the components of reunion that makes it so difficult, because it opens a Pandora's box of a huge amount of stuff. But that's for another video. But it reinforces the impact imprinting, our facial recognition structures, vocal tone, and all this plays. And the reason I'm bringing it up today is it defines safe. It is part of our body's mechanism of assessing safe. And there are two sides to this. If our biological family betray that safety, there is a part of our body will still seek that. It's going into the last video with epigenetics and deficits and so forth. We will seek that as, well, I'm safe when I have these parameters met. When I have somebody that looks like that, somebody that looks like that, somebody that sounds like that, in my immediate vicinity, I am safe. But then there's another layer to it. Well, I'm not, because they harmed me. They did bad things. And it's having the recognition of that. Because as an adult, we can work through things to the point of teaching our body a better understanding of what safe is. But until we recognize that, think of it along the lines of muscle memory. And this is one of the greatest difficulties of all forms of therapy, is you can provide the skills, the knowledge, you can provide the ideas and the awareness, but you have to have lived experiences, and many of them, for the body to realize things have changed. And the how in doing that is really, really difficult. And I'm far from having a complete success in that. But it's really understanding all the parts at play that help build that awareness of why I react and feel and sense and do all these things that go on. That helps taking many positive steps. Even though they're little ones, they are still positive steps towards that goal. And because we are drawn to fill those voids, those deficits, vocal tone, facial structural recognition, and all this is a key part of that. And so in our cycles, we will bring people in that fill those same voids because they have a similar structure or they have a similar vocal tone. There is an attraction or a connection there, but there is also a trigger. And that is the other part of what I want to raise in today's video, is in our attachments, because we are drawn to what we're familiar with what we know. In the base of our beginning and of our ecologies, there are triggers associated with those that reflect our past. And, following on from the last video, or around the deficits in the ecology of things, the last two videos, is we get triggered when a person in our now sounds the same or has the same inflection or tone or word or mannerism or posture as somebody that harmed us, and we react. And in that reaction, if we don't understand what that is about, we will put on them that they are the same as those that harmed us, when they might not be. Yeah, there is a possibility that they could, but they most likely, if we've allowed them into our lives, and we are smart enough to know that, once we cross that hurdle of not letting abusers be part of our lives, we know that they're not. And that creates a layer of confusion, because even though they have no idea what they've triggered or why they've triggered, it creates this barrier that feeds backwards and forwards. And I've seen it end many friendships and many relationships. Or create what what I call a love-hate relationship, where there's massive amounts of fighting, and then there's massive amounts of making up, and massive amounts of fighting, massive amounts of making up. That's all fine and dandy until there's children involved, because those sorts of relationships destroy children. And it's understanding these mechanisms that can help you to make sense, to take these little steps. You're going, yes, I know this person has triggered me because of what they've said, but they're not the ones that harmed me. It is literally that simple. And if you do that acknowledgement inside yourself each time, you will start to recognize the processes, and you will start to diminish their impact. And this is how we really heal. Because as I've said in numerous videos, to heal from trauma is when we belong, we release the stored memories and the stored responses. But we also need to relearn and recreate who we are from the ground, literally from the ground up. And we do that, how we do it naturally is from a child to an adult. We experience, we learn, we experiment, we learn from our mistakes, and so forth and so forth. So, as I said, the main point of this video, and why I raised it, is there are mechanisms at play behind everything that we are and everything that we do. Taking the time to learn them is a real benefit, because it is a large step in taking your power back, and in knowing that, well, I'm going through hell, but it's a bunch of mechanisms, and if I find the right combination, I can change them. So as always, please be kind and gentle with yourselves. Take your time with this. I welcome your emails, I welcome your comments, and I'll see you all next time. Hope.